The three women huddled together. Their faces were grim. This plan had to work.
We love our boyfriends dearly, but we crave control.
We yearn for obedience.
And what better way to achieve that than by turning our men into toddlers?
They had secretly developed a youth serum. It promised eternal youth. But they had tweaked it, just a little. Enough to turn their men into adorable, helpless toddlers.
Can you imagine them in diapers?
And tiny pajamas?
Their boyfriends would be their little playthings. The plan was perfect. They would slip the serum into their boyfriends' drinks. It would be their little secret.
To control.
They whispered in unison. They couldn't wait to have their boyfriends at their mercy. They dreamed of dressing them in silly outfits. They would make them play with toys all day. It would be so much fun. Little did they know, their little experiment would have some very big consequences. Their lives were about to change forever. The serum worked like a charm. One minute, the boyfriends were laughing, enjoying their dinner. The next, they were shrinking. Their bodies morphed. Their voices became high-pitched. Their adult minds were trapped in the bodies of toddlers.
What's happening?
Don't worry, sweetie. It's going to be okay.
John, now the size of a small child, glared at his girlfriend Sarah.
This isn't funny, Sarah. Change us back right now.
Sarah just laughed, finding his tiny voice adorable. Meanwhile, the third boyfriend, Peter, burst into tears.
I want my mommy.
He wailed, clinging to his girlfriend, Emily's leg. Emily, despite her initial amusement, began to feel a twinge of guilt. What had they done? The women reveled in their boyfriend's transformation. They dressed them in matching dinosaur pajamas. They gave them sippy cups filled with juice. They couldn't resist the cuteness.
You look so adorable.
Alice squealed, snapping pictures of Mark splashing in a tiny inflatable pool. Mark scowled, trying to maintain his dignity. It was hard when you were naked in a kiddie pool. Sarah brushed John's hair, giggling as he squirmed.
You're just a little doll.
John, fuming, tried to articulate his anger. But all that came out was a string of incoherent babbles. Emily, meanwhile, was having a blast giving Peter a bubble bath.
Look at you, all covered in suds.
Peter, mortified, wanted nothing more than to disappear. Despite the fun, a nagging thought began to creep into the women's minds. This was all well and good. But what had they gotten themselves into? The initial novelty of having toddler boyfriends wore off quickly. The women hadn't anticipated the constant supervision, the diaper changes, the temper tantrums.
I can't believe I have to change your diaper.
Alice sighed, holding her nose as she changed Mark. Mark, humiliated, refused to make eye contact.
It's not like I can control it.
He muttered under his breath. Sarah found herself exhausted. John, despite his size, was a whirlwind of energy. He ran around the house, creating chaos.
I need a nap.
Sarah groaned, collapsing onto the couch. And it dawned on her. She was essentially a single parent now. Emily, too, started to feel the strain. Peter, though generally well-behaved, cried every time she left the room.
I miss my freedom.
She whispered to herself, longing for a night out with her friends. The women had gotten what they wanted, control. But at what cost? One evening, fueled by exhaustion and a growing sense of guilt, the women came to a decision.
We need to turn them back.
Emily confessed. The other two readily agreed. This had gone too far. But as they examined the serum, they realized they had made a grave error. They had used the last of the original formula. They could make more, but it would take months. Months.
There's a de-aging component in the serum.
She whispered, her voice trembling.
It's very, very slow acting, but it's there.
The color drained from their faces. Their boyfriends weren't just stuck as toddlers. They were getting younger, every day.
They'll be babies soon.
Sarah breathed, her eyes wide with panic. And indeed, over the next few weeks, their boyfriends shrunk even further, their minds becoming trapped in the bodies of infants. The women were horrified at first. They had ruined everything. Their boyfriends were now helpless babies. They would never forgive themselves. But then something strange happened. They adjusted. They fell into a routine. They found a strange joy in caring for their baby boyfriends. They dressed them in adorable onesies. They fed them from bottles. They sang them lullabies.
He's so cute.
Alice cooed, bouncing baby Mark on her knee. Mark, his adult mind screaming in frustration, could only gurgle in response.
We can just de-age them every 5 years or so. Keep them as babies forever.
The other two women loved the idea. They could handle babies. It was toddlers they couldn't handle. And so the women settled into their new lives. They hired a rotating team of babysitters, all female friends sworn to secrecy. They had their freedom back, but now it came with a pram and a diaper bag. Their boyfriends, trapped in their baby bodies, could only watch in silent horror. Their girlfriends, once loving partners, were now their captors. They were prisoners in their own infantile bodies, forever at the mercy of their scheming girlfriends. Their only hope? That one day, the de-aging component would wear off. But until then, they were living a nightmare. A cute, cuddly, inescapable nightmare.